It's the Real News Network. I'm Sharmini Pires coming to you from Baltimore. 36,000 Verizon workers, represented by two unions, won most of their strike demands from Verizon in a new 4-year contract, helping to end a 7-week-long labor strike that partially paralyzed the carrier. Verizon offered its unions a nearly 11% raise, a small bump in pension benefits, and a promise to add 1,400 new union jobs. Verizon also agreed to scale back subcontracting and withdrew a proposal to relocate employees for extended periods of time. Two very important issues that had been at the heart of the standoff. Now, joining me to discuss all of this is Bob Master. He's a Verizon worker with the Communication Workers of America. Bob, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And so how are the workers now feeling about the gains that they made?
Well, I walked past a truck of a couple of technicians this morning on my block, and I said to them, "Congratulations, how's it feel to be back?" And they gave me the big thumbs up. So I think people are feeling great about being back at work after 7 long weeks on strike.
And let's go over those gains. What did you actually achieve in the negotiations and in the new settlement?
The central issue in this strike was about the preservation of good jobs in our communities. You hit on the highlights in your introduction. We were fighting against the elimination of job security for our existing jobs. We were trying to roll back some subcontracting initiatives that had taken our jobs out of the bargaining unit and given them to non-union, lower-wage subcontractors. We were trying to ensure that good call center jobs were kept here in our communities rather than being outsourced either to low-wage contractors in the country, across the country, or even overseas to the Philippines and Mexico. And we were fighting for a first contract for the Verizon wireless workers, and we made tremendous gains in all those areas.
And are there a segment of the memberships of the union that felt the settlement wasn't good enough? How did you come to the agreement to accept the settlement?
Well, we have a very, very democratic process. Our bargaining committee is composed of about a dozen representatives of the different locals from across the region. They were in constant contact with our chief bargainers. They were at the table for much of the discussions, and those are local officers who, bluntly have to run for re-election every 3 years and are very close to the membership. And so our top people, Vice President Dennis Traynor, Vice President Ed Mooney, and President Chris Shelton, who at the end of the day were the ones who were in the room, they were in very close touch with these local officers who were very close to the membership. So we knew exactly, what we needed to get, and I think we got there.
And were there pending issues that still needed discussion and settlement?
I have to say that, we really addressed all of the concerns that were central to our members' daily lives. As you mentioned, bringing back about 1,300 call center jobs, keeping open all but two of the smallest, except for the two smallest call centers that were threatened with closure, affecting 6 employees total in upstate New York. All 6 of those folks will get jobs at the phone company close to their homes, keeping those 14 call centers open, getting a higher percentage of the call center work to be handled by our members here in the Northeast as opposed to shipped somewhere else. These were really the central issues. Protecting our pensions. The company had a proposal to freeze the pension at 30 years of service. It wouldn't increase if people work for 35 or 40 years. They get no additional credit. We beat that back. So overall, I think people feel very, very good about having protected our jobs and our working conditions and our benefits.
And Bob, what I noticed about this strike was it was really well organized. It was visually very impactful, and you did a tremendous job in terms of gaining the public support for this strike. And now, one of the things that I noticed also was that this was largely a strike on the East Coast. What does this mean about Verizon workers across the country gaining similar rights?
Well, the bargaining unit that was affected was just from Massachusetts to Virginia. Verizon no longer has any bargaining units outside of the Northeast. That, you know, at one time they had a number of states, small units scattered across the Midwest, and the old GTE units in California and Florida and Texas. They've sold all those off. So, you know, look, there are a lot of non-union employees at Verizon Wireless. We hope that they will see that being part of the union is a big benefit to them, and that we'll see some upsurge in interest in the union. But I think, you know, going back to the question you asked about public support, I mean, I feel like, well, honestly, I'm not sure there could have been a better political climate in which to go on strike, because there's so much discussion in the country about corporate greed and the power of the 1% and income inequality, that the messages that we were articulating really resonated in a very, very strong way with the public.
All right, Bob, I thank you for joining us, and congratulations on the settlement.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for joining us on the Real News Network.